All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us for this afternoon session of the Elevations Geospatial Summer Series. And thank you to our platinum sponsor, Nearmap, our gold sponsors, Wolpert, the University of Wyoming Geospatial Information Science Center, and Frontier Precision, and our silver sponsor for the week, Integrated Land Services. Thank you to all of our presenters and instructors as well. We are using Zoom webinar where all attendees will be on mute. These sessions are being recorded. You'll be sent an email after the event with the link to the recordings. There is a Q&A option to ask questions of the presenters, and there is also a chat feature which should be used for technical issues and will only be visible to presenters and the host. If the presenter opens up the session to attendee participation and you would like to speak, please raise your hand and you will be unmuted. So with that, I would like to turn things over to David Siddle of Frontier Precision, and he can take it away with his workshop for this afternoon. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you for the attendees for jumping in and the issues that we had there. Now, I've got a crazy echo. Does anybody else have that issue?
I don't have any echo.
Okay, then I'm just going to move this. So we've got a small group, and I really would like for you guys to unmute so we can chat a little bit. I want to hear about if you attended yesterday's session or if you've seen Pointman, and I really like to make certain that you guys are getting what you need out of this time. So with that, don't make me call on you. Yeah, this is.
So if you raise your hands, I can unmute people individually.
David, would you prefer that Brian just unmute everybody?
Yeah, let's unmute everybody. So with that, let's go down. Hey, Steve, you popped all the way to the top. I think that you were in yesterday's session. Was there something special or particular you wanted to get out of this?
Not in particular. I'm just curious, I guess, more about it, how it works and stuff. I was in yesterday's session, but I don't know how well I was paying attention, but it was in it and listening to it. And it, I guess, for Wyoming, how it would apply in rural areas, where we don't have always the base stations and connectivity that an urban area like Denver has.
No, Sue, it was a really good question. And the answer is everything works in an offline environment, and our corrections now can be sent over satellite. So we no longer have requirements where we need to have real time or cellular, or because we can all do everything in an offline environment.
Good, yeah.
So Kaylee, you're next on the list. Is there anything that jumped at you that you would like to learn? Okay, so Liam or Sterling, if you guys want to jump in and tell me things that I'd much rather to answer your guys' question than just for you guys hearing me talk.
Nothing yet. I'm fairly new to the whole GIS thing in general, so I kind of don't know what I don't know.
Okay. What are you doing anything in subsurface, underground, or utilities?
No, I'm with FEMA, so we're doing disaster stuff generally.
Okay. I think you'll be able to see that this is just another field data collection software. similar to, field maps, collector, Terraflex. There's so many out there. This one just strength is that it plays nice with, any back end. So, your takeaway, is looking beyond what we're really going to focus on. This is on, subsurface utilities, and that workflow is what this presentation is focused on. So anybody else, hopes, wishes? I've got to figure out something on this echo. It's making me crazy. I'm hearing myself.
It's only on your end. We don't hear it.
It's truly only making me crazy, so that's good. Okay, so what we're going to do.
Oh, sorry, David. I have a question for you.
Jump in.
If right now this is primarily used by CDOT for tracking all the underground utilities and stuff in their projects, how do you see this transitioning with all of the changes in the 811 and the tracking requirements and so forth associated with all of that?
So thank you, Deb. Excellent question. Right now, Pointman is being used worldwide. I'm focusing on the CDOT mandate because it's here in Colorado and it's very, very focused on right away and their solutions. What we're going to see today is Pointman Pro, and that's the desktop backend that is open to anybody and anything. So I've been in the beta program since a year ago, last June and last May, and I know that Pointman is in the Colorado 811 API. Does that mean it's 6 months, a year, 2 years away? But the handwriting is pretty clear that when we're doing permits and things, this makes just so much sense. And that overall workflow in how do we get data back to the provider, whether that's 811 or CDOT or the individual city town entity. That's really its big strength. So it's next generation field data collection, just like field maps. We're in that, near real time continuity. This one was just, I'm focused on the underground utilities as it applies to CDOT. This one's going to go a little bit more into the bigger picture of Pro and what else it can do. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Kind of roundabout.
It'll be interesting to see.
Okay. So I just found a button that said echo cancellation, and I turned it up to aggressive. And that didn't change anything. Okay, so what we're going to do is, this is a video that we had a tech expo back in March. And Ben Scogan from Pointman and I did this together. And I thought the best way is I'm going to play this and I'm going to stop it occasionally. And because Ben tends to speak really fast, to make sure that we're highlighting and hitting a lot of the topics that we thought were kind of important. But if you guys hear something or see something, raise your hand, shout out, stop it, because if you found something that was interesting, most likely somebody else will go, what was that? So fully aware that, Ben speaks quickly, and some of this introduction is going to be, we're repeating what we've just chatted about. But this comes from the presentation we did back in March, so there's some dated things in here. But it's a really, really good overview of all the products. So with that, you guys, open up the chat, throw any questions out, and we'll go from there. Just confirming, you guys can hear me speaking, correct?
Yes. Don't hear any sound on the video yet.
So Brian, there was no sound from the video. It was just
I'm
me
not hearing-
speaking.
Yeah, I'm not hearing any sound on the video either,
Okay.
but it
yeah,
also
we've
looks
got an
like
issue
it
here.
paused too.
Yeah, I'm not seeing or hearing any video.
Okay, I'm going to stop it all and do it all over again.
And I think there is a setting on there to share your computer audio as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeannie and I did a test yesterday and made everything set up.
and made everything set up, so I'm not
But they didn't
certain
change anything.
that they didn't change anything.
Now we're getting the echo.
I actually feel better about
I actually
that.
feel better about that.
In Trimble,
So do you guys see a guy with a hard hat?
Yeah, and I thought I heard a little bit of audio when it was
Ben
running.
Scogan is going to be presenting. I
How
did
about
a
now?
presentation on the Pointman
Yep,
workflow.
I'm hearing audio and it's moving. It's still just the guy on the screen.
Tuesday. That
Perfect.
was a really quick, high overview. This session is really designed to be much more in depth, getting into the technical parts. My role, I was invited into the CDOT mandate beta program almost a year ago. And my job was to assure the Trimble sub-inch accuracy for that workflow. I'll tell you what, in the near year that I've been participating, I cannot tell you how impressed I am with the Pointman workflow for subsurface utility engineering. The whole, it's just a very, very clean workflow. I think you guys are all going to be really impressed with this. We will be monitoring the chat during the presentation. Please do not hesitate to throw questions in there. I'll get Ben's attention. We'll also try to make time at the end for any questions. So with that, I'd like to introduce Ben Scogan. Ben, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, David, and welcome everybody. My name is Ben Scogan. I'm the product manager for Pointman here at ProStar. I've been with the company about 5 years now. Just want to do a little bit of an announcement. At 3 o'clock today, Mountain Time, we'll be giving away a 1-year subscription to the mobile app, Pointman Plus. So be looking for that in our chat in our booth at the ProStar booth. It's in Exhibit Hall 2 at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll be giving that away to anyone who is in our chat. So jumping into this, what Pointman is, and we'll talk about what Pointman is. We'll talk about why CDOT chose, and they kind of went into this in the overview a little bit, but it's the reason to why they chose to adopt the system, and what sort of workflows they got rid of by going to this system. So we'll also highlight the Trimble functionality, all the testing that David and I have been doing over the last year or so in the beta program, So we'll touch on all of that. Just briefly describing what we do is all subsurface utility work. That is our industry. That is where we live, SUE, as-builts, and the like. There's needless to say, there is a problem with congestion in our utilities, line strikes. Every minute of every working day, a line is hit somewhere in the US. So we have, an increased cost, increased time on the project, delays, insurance costs, and God forbid injuries. So 100% of these construction projects are required by law now to locate utilities prior to any digging that occurs. $10 billion is spent annually to locate utilities, but there's, even with this $10 billion spent and the laws in place, we still have a $30 billion impact annually by lines that are continuously getting hit. So there's still an issue. Our focus is infrastructure. And so oil and gas DOT, as you know, Colorado mandated the system in January of this year for their right of way. And we're in talks with several other DOTs, as well as 811 centers right now to do the same. Construction, engineering, and surveying, locating municipalities. As mentioned, we've partnered with Colorado 811 as well. There will be native integration with the Pointman enterprise system. We focus on utilities. And so the problem that we're addressing is poor records. One of the reasons why SUE projects are so expensive in particular, and SUE is subsurface utility engineering. The reason these projects are so expensive is because they don't start with good records. From the field sketch stage onward, there is more time spent verifying, sending people back out to relocate, spray paint over and over, resurvey in those paint marks, get things into CAD, get them reviewed and shared with the rest of the team, that it's just a time sink. It's a money sink, and we're not starting with good records. So Pointman is out to fix that problem. So this, again, is part of the problem, is just paint marks. This is not a permanent digital record of, during the field sketching stage. And so what we've done is take this mobile app Pointman and inserted it into that field sketch stage of the project at the very beginning, when lines are going out and being located, so that they're not just spraying paint on the ground, they're actually capturing the location of that data. The reason why that's important, it's so important, is because that data can then be reused at all subsequent stages in that process. Meaning in real time, the locator has the data of where those utilities are. The surveyor has the data. The engineer has the data. The guy in the excavator has the data. All of this in real time on their tablets. So there's no need to go through and do these traditional workflows of manual review processes. Everything's done in real time. And you're starting with good data, that sub-inch data. And we also capture the depths using Pointman as well. So because that data is inaccurate, they need to verify. And excavation trucks aren't inherently bad on their own, but they do cost more money, it costs more time, and you're not 100% sure if what you just excavated is the line you're looking for all the time. So common workflows, like I said, locate the utilities, and I could even take it a step further and say step 0 is researching my old records, pulling everything together. Then I go out and locate what's out there. I survey those paint marks in. But really what I'm surveying is a paint mark. I'm not surveying the actual location of that utility, because a lot of these pipe locators are only accurate to 18 inches either side of the utility. So we need a better way to find out where that is. Then you have to manually upload the survey data, review it, get it into CAD, send it to other team members. It's a manual process, and at any stage on this process where these arrows are, there can be issues that cause you to go back a stage. It's that waterfall concept where you're going back to a previous step to redo it. The solution is Pointman, and for the last 5 years, we've been building this system. 3 of those years, we worked with Colorado DOT to build the system out to their specification, and that's part of what what caused the mandate, because we got to a spot where they were happy with the system. They are an Esri and Bentley shop. And so they wanted something that would bolt onto those systems without having to get rid of them. They also have Salesforce. They have other things on the back end that they needed integrated. And so rather than replacing a system, we're actually bolting onto a system to enhance every other system that's out there. And when I say that, I mean, not only are people locating utilities in the field and it's coming into the office in real time, but we're also connecting to Esri, CAD, Bentley MicroStation, inroads on the back end, Colorado 811, and pulling all of those different systems of record into one layer panel on the app in real time, so that you can turn all those different layers on and they all talk and play together. And this is that hybrid between GIS and survey. This is that hybrid between engineering and GIS. The systems that were a manual process to talk to each other in the past is no longer an issue. You can stream data in real time. The solution is cloud and mobile. And so whatever you collect in the field, as soon as you trigger a depth on that pipe locator, it's in the office. It has GPS coordinates pulling off of a Trimble in real time as well. So it compared to both tools at the same time. And what you're seeing on the screen here is an electrical line located on the left side of the road. The GIS record said it was on the other side of the road with a 103-foot discrepancy there. So being able to validate your CAD records in the field because you're pulling them into the mobile device from CAD or from Esri or whatever GIS system you have, you're able to then field truth that and make sure that it's right. And if it's wrong, you can update it from the field and push it back into CAD. So with one button press, you can go in and publish to CAD. So very, very helpful technology there. Very simple to implement this solution. All you need is the locate tool, the mobile device, a GPS. In this case, we're talking about Trimble. We support several others, but Trimble is our big partnership, and we support all of the Trimble GPS line, and we'll go into what those are. And then the cloud platform, if you have Pointman Pro. So that is the upgrade to just the simple mobile app, which is Pointman Plus. We'll touch on a few things there during the presentation. We'll go through all of that. We actually announced Pointman Pro formally through a press release yesterday. So it's available to the market, and it's been in about almost a year of beta testing and 3 years of development. So it's ready. The Pointman workflow takes that process down and cuts it in half. You capture that field data, you have a real-time office and mobile review, and you can auto-publish it to back-end systems. This means that during that field sketch process, you're starting with good data that everybody has access to. So no matter who joins the project or who needs access to the data and when, you can set that up with permissions on a per layer basis, whatever you want them to see or not to see, whether they're a contractor, a client might just need viewing privileges, a guy out in the field doing locates might need full access, or maybe you don't want them to delete things. We'll go into all of that. But this is a real-time system. And all at the same time, you're seeing, like in this instance, these screenshots in the middle is the City of Grand Junction's Esri department streaming into Pointman Pro. So we've got their water lines, their valves, their fire hydrants. All of that is showing on that screen right there. And there's several other layers in there that I can turn on, like the CDOT layers, their right-of-way bounds, land parcels. I know exactly what's around me. That's my situational awareness while I'm out in the field. And then I can collect data based on that, and I have better information. And then, as I mentioned, publishing, auto-publishing back to a back-end system, or manually exporting it to a certain user. This system is designed for utilities. This is not a replacement for Trimble Access. You still can perform your traditional survey workflows in that way, but this is specifically built for SU and as-builts. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to a demo. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat, and I'll give about 30 seconds to a minute for people to get their questions in, and then we'll jump into the product. And David, if you could confirm that you're seeing my Pointman screens.
Looks great.
Okay, thank you. we have any questions coming in? Not yet. Okay, so let's jump into the product. So again, this is cloud and mobile. Whatever you collect in the field is available in the office on Pro. If you just want to start with Plus, you can have a precision mobile data collector that also acts as a GIS app right on your Android or iOS device. That is Pointman Plus. So even if you have Pointman Plus, which we're going to give away a license of this at 3 o'clock Mountain today, you can upgrade to Pro later, just right from the mobile device itself. So very simple to do that. I'm going to sign in, and we're going to take a look at a project here that I did out in Grand Junction. I went out with a Trimble R2 GNSS receiver, and I'll just jump back to Grand Junction here. I was in a demo prior to this meeting, and I have all those one call tickets streaming in the Denver area, and we'll go into that here in a bit. So let's go to this project in Grand Junction, and I'll zoom over to the same spot. This is built on Amazon Web Services, so AWS. This is a brand new cloud platform, state-of-the-art, very modern, very secure. So as I go into this, this is the intersection where I went and located some utilities with a Trimble R2, a VRS correction for Mesa County, and a Vivax MetroTech pipe locator. So everything's color coded based on the data dictionary. What I want to collect is all customized. So if I go in and hit the new button up here on the top right, you can see just an example of something that I want to collect. In this case, it's an observed leak with some custom attributes that I've defined. And I can select which layer in the cloud that I want to collect that to. And that'll make more sense here once we go into that. But I've defined these little pick lists, custom unique ID, text field where I can type in, and then just hit OK and locate the utility. So I'm just going to hit OK. Hopefully the GPS plays nice with us inside, but even if it doesn't, all you need to do is hit the finish button and you've just collected it into the office. If you're using a pipe locator, you just trigger a depth reading. It also triggers a GPS reading and saves all of that into the point. Doesn't look like the GPS is going to play nice with us. So I'm going to go in and tap on one of the lines that I collected. Every point on this electrical cable is where a location of where I shot a depth. So you can check that. It shows the distance in between each one. So if you need to capture at certain intervals, like for example, in the CDOT mandate every 25 feet now, you can do that. You can see that in real time as you collect this. So with one button press, I got all of this. I got the RTK off my Trimble R2, 200s by about 400s, 15 satellites. My DOPs are all listed. My depth and the VLOC Pro from MetroTech, Vivax is here. 3.2 feet. I did not hook up a transmitter, so it showed 0 milliamps on the current. The frequency that I had it set to, again, just for demonstration purposes, and the direction of which way the antenna was facing. I also have a latitude, longitude, and several different elevations. We did a lot of testing around this with David and Frontier Precision. The altitude is your phase center on the GPS up on the pole. The ellipsoidal version of that, and the ground elevation with a geoid model applied to it. So anytime I take a depth shot, I'm taking it from the ground level down. It's automatically subtracting this antenna height that I inserted from tape measure, just measured up, inserted that right in there. And I can page through all these points. You're looking at this depth that I shot here along this line. So I can use the next buttons and just go right along that line and make sure that everything looks good. This is an example of real-time QA/QC on that data while an excavator is on site, while a surveyor is on site, while the locator is on site, or designator, depending on which industry you're in. And it shows you the fixed type before you collect it. It shows you, it makes sure that you've got the accuracy that you need before you collect this data. Every piece of data can have things attached to it. So I can come into this electrical cable, hit the details button at the bottom, and I can hit edit. And I can attach items right from my mobile device to this cable. So if I hit the attach button, I can attach a form, a photo, a sketch, or a file This file could be a spreadsheet, another PDF, an image, a Word document, whatever you need to attach to this item. So let's say I take a photo. I'm going to tap a photo, and I'm going to take a photo of my lovely little plant here. And at the bottom, I've embedded a compass. I could georeference this photo with a GPS. Oh, it did decide to come in. This is just my internal GPS on my Trimble TDC 600. Snap the photo. And now I can take this photo and mark it up. So I hit the tools button up top, add a sticky note to this photo, and then circle or draw a box around something of interest using the standard color codes from my data dictionary. So water, in this case, I'll just circle my plant here, hit OK, and hit close. And that's all I have to do to document that line. This is, again, just an example of just doing this in real time. Hit details. And now I've got an attached photo right on the electrical cable itself. It did not create a second pin on the map. It's just one. If I hit edit, I can come in and attach more items. I can remove this, or I can click the link and edit that sketch in the markup in that photo. So the other thing I can do is take this and hit attach, and this time I'm going to do a sketch. It's going to load my map with my project area. And you notice that I have access to my layer panel here. So I can come in and turn on more things. In this case, I want to turn on the CDOT right of way. Turn off the other data. I want to get the CDOT data that's in here, as well as land parcels in the area. So now I've got this here. And if I hit sketch, now I can mark it up in the same way. I've got my notes, and I can say CDOT right of way. And Grand Junction parcels, and hit close. So now I've got the utilities and a photo taken there, and that it just continues to build that list of attachments. And when I export this feature with the send button, these attachments go with it. So this is a good way to document what you're doing out in the field, and this is a good way to replace that field sketch process. Same thing with forms. If I wanted to attach a form to this, I could just, in fact, I'm just going to do a form on its own to show you the difference. So here's a form. Hit OK. It's going to bring up the forms that I'm allowed to see that are enabled on this project, and I'm going to do a locate form. Okay, so it loads up my locate form. I can insert some dates, just tap and select things, scroll down through. I can fill this form out, and then I can insert a sketch right into the form as well. So I'll insert a map. And zoom out here a little bit. And I'll go in to, let's do the same thing before, parcels. So I could do a couple different sketches here. Colorado DOT, routes and right-of-way, and I'll just insert this one here. I can see parcel numbers and just hit capture. So now that's embedded in the sketch. And again, I can mark up not only the sketch, but the whole form using the tools. So I can draw all over this form if I want to. And then just hit close. And everything, all these three things that I just collected are in the office. So it just zoomed me back over to my location. And you can see what the accuracy looks like before you collect something. So it shows you your DOPS. It shows me that I'm using WGS84 as a coordinate system, and that is a real-time transformation. It's applying the Geoid 18 model, and my fixed type is GPS because I'm not using an external. I'm just using my internal GPS. It would say RTK or RTX if we went that route. And all I have to do is hit the finish button, and it saves it on the map, and it's already available in the office. So someone can take a look at my forms, photos, sketches, and all my utility data that I'm capturing. Next thing,
So we're going to take a break here. I'm going to put Ben on pause because that was a lot of information on the data collection. I just want to reach out to everybody. Are there any questions, any thoughts? What did you see there? What was different? Again, this is your guys' time, so let me know what you learned there. One of the things that came up, our gentleman in the FEMA, you can see that in this demo that there were FEMA floodplains as a layer as well. So we can have any layers, we can have, forms. That was a CAUT 811 permit form. So all of those things are at our fingertips. I know that was quite a bit there. Well, now everybody's getting echo. At least that tells me something. I'll go ahead and hit play on this again. But if you guys have any questions, go ahead and shoot me any thoughts.
Let's
Hey,
say we want
David,
to
do
get
you
out to
have
that
two
spot.
microphones going on there, like maybe a headset and your laptop?
The answer is yes, but they're both turned off.
Okay, I don't know if I can help you then.
All right, I'll keep digging while we play here.
Okay.
A directions button. If I tap on the feature, I can tap Google Directions and it will give me driving directions to that feature using the Google Maps app. Once I'm on site, I can tap stake and do a stakeout. So let me zoom in here. It shows me how far to walk in which direction, and it also gives me cut and fill based on the elevation. So I can use my Geoid 18 model. I can use my WGS 84 coordinate system to get myself over that spot in the proper way. This could be good for depth of cover surveys, offsets, because we also support it for lines as well. I'm going to select this big line over here and hit stake. I can do a nearest or a station mode. First thing I'll do is a nearest and zoom out just a little bit here. So my nearest closest location from where I am to that line. And if the line has elevation on it, I get a cut and fill. This one does not. So I don't get the cut and fill, but I can still position myself right over top of it. Same thing with station, just stationing mode as you know it. So there's some brief overviews of Pointman. The system is cloud, so it's real time over the internet or Wi-Fi, but it does have the ability to work offline. So if I tap the offline button, I can download all my features, my photos, sketches, and files, my forms, drone imagery, base map imagery, all my reports, and go offline. So it says go offline complete, and I've got this little icon right here. Everything I collect is now saving to the tablet. So I'm gonna make sure I don't lose the tablet. When I'm done, I go into the menu and it now says go online. There's no upload to do here. You just tap that and you're back online. It syncs everything automatically. So very simple to use. Again, we're making this as easy to use as possible. We go back into the menu. You've got about, you've got a help system with a full YouTube channel attached to it, videos, how-to documents. We're also releasing an in-app tutorial as you log in for the first time. It will point you into the direction of each button and what each button does. So live notifications, this is available on Pro. So if something doesn't look right in the office, I can click on that and send it to my user in the field, and they'll get a notification on their device. I tap on that one. I have an inbox that's empty right now, but I will have a list of notifications, which I can read the message that was sent to me from the office or from another field user, and then tap the Map It button to be taken to that feature. So let's say it took me across town to the project site that we were looking at over here. Just tap on a random one, and I can now tap directions at the bottom, and it will open my directions from where I am to where that utility is under the ground. So I can get there very easily. This is going to reduce the amount of trips back and forth from the office, so you can get out there, do your work, and people can talk to you in real time using the app. So moving into the settings page, and I'm just going to quickly check, make sure we don't have any questions coming in. Okay. So this is where you set up your operation, and you do this one time. From there, it saves your settings. So I have the ability to use Bluetooth to pair to a GPS and a pipe locator. GPS wise, we support the following, although in the Trimble line, we support the Catalyst, as well as the R series, all the way from R1 to R12i. and the SPS, as well as Spectra Precision line from the Trimble end of things. Now, we also support Trimble corrections. So if you have Centerpoint RTX or VRS now, you can use those natively inside Pointman without any sort of extra workaround. I'll show you that here in a bit. Pipe locators, all the major pipe locators on the market, including the newest, latest, and greatest from Vivax and radio detection, as well as Subsite. If you want to do laser offsets, you can get a Laser Tech rangefinder and pair it, and you can shoot an offset in an inaccessible area where GPS doesn't work. Once you pair it and select it, you're done. That's all you need to do. You're good to go. You can start locating. If you want to, you can enter your antenna height if you want to be precise and get your ground shots. The coordinate system that you want to use. Here I was showing WGS 84 and the Geoid 18 model. We have several Geoid models available in here, including Canadian and international ones. Corrections, I have Mesa County's VRS loaded. That's their N-trip connection. I also have Trimble Catalyst and Trimble RTX out of the box. You don't need to install those. They come with Pointman. So all I need to do to set that up is hit the edit button, and I've got my correction profiles. If I go in and hit add a new one, I can add either an N-trip connection or a dip connection in here, and I can actually test and make sure that it comes back okay and select different mount points. Important note here, we do not use CMR. When we talk about mount points, we use RTCM in Pointman, so to keep that in mind. Okay, down below, you can actually turn on features that you want to have, such as the stakeout and directions that we showed you. There's several others in here, and the newest one is measured depth. So you can actually take a ground shot and then measure down with a tape measure and manually insert the reading off the tape measure, and it will automatically calculate top of utility or top of pipe for you. So that's a nice little feature to have if you need to enter those depths manually. Down below, the data dictionary is what we were collecting, so I'll open that up. You can actually edit it from the field. And when I was on this project out here, locating these utilities, about half of the things that are listed here were not in my data dictionary, and I needed to add them, but I did not want to go back to the office to do that. So I just hit the edit button. It brings up my dictionaries. I'm using the demo dictionary. So I tap that and hit edit. And I can manipulate all of the things that I want to collect right from the mobile device. So in the case of the observed leak, I tap that and hit edit. And you see those 3 custom attributes that I added, and I can add more here. I can also change the style of how this looks. So I can do this right from the mobile device, and I'll show you how to do it from the desktop as well. Now, since this is a cloud system, if I make a change to the data dictionary, everyone else is going to get it too. So if they're working on another project, they're going to benefit from the new features that I just added to it. At the bottom, I can select between metric and imperial units and a sound toggle as well. If you ever have an issue with Pointman in the field, you can tap the send log file button, and we'll get a log file, and we'll be able to help you troubleshoot while you're out there. So we have a very robust support team that's available to assist you while you are out locating utilities. Last things I'll say about the mobile device. This layer panel, again, comes in from the office. So I have all my layers here, and I can turn everything on. I can clear all and switch base maps. So I've got several base maps at the bottom, just by default, Google being an open street as well as a grid. I like the grid sometimes for certain things. So if I zoom in, I actually have a scale for what I'm looking at. If I want a traditional workflow like that, it goes all the way down to a 1 meter grid. If you zoom past the Google imagery, it will automatically switch to the grid. So right here, I'm at the Google imagery, and I continue to zoom in until I get to the very limit of that Google imagery, and it automatically switched to grid. I back out one, and it switches back to Google. So we pixelate it as much as we possibly can before we need to switch it. Above that is the location services. So once I pair a GPS, I can test it with this arrow. So I tap that, and it'll bring it in, and I can wait till I have an RTK fix. I can check to make sure my pipe locator's paired before I even go do any locates. The next button up is a real-time refresh. So if somebody publishes data in the office, I can pull in the latest and greatest just by tapping one button. On all my layers will be updated as soon as that map reloads. So we'll let that load back in. Now I've got all of the newest layers available to me. Search is the magnifying glass right above it. I can search for anything in the system. If I don't know what I'm searching for, I can just search an empty, just hit enter, and it will bring up my entire project with all of the layers in it and all of the features inside each layer. I can do little filters there. You can see that it loaded 73,000 parcels, 9,000 mile markers, 1,300 major roads. Just a ton of data is available very quickly. If I want to go to the points, let's tap on the points, and it will give me a list of everything that's been collected in that project under points. I can sort and filter, and I can tap on one of these. Say, let's tap on the water meter, and then tap the map it button. So I can very easily search for something, and it will take me right to where that feature is. And then from right there, you just tap directions or stake and get right over top of it. So very easy to do. This covers the mobile app. At this point, I want to find out if there's any questions. Again, this is intended to be a precision mobile data collector specifically built for utilities. This is not built to replace Survey or Trimble Access or anything like that, but it does complement those systems very well. In fact, we're looking at doing an integration with Trimble Access in the future, and we will be releasing Pointman for Windows towards the end of the year. So if you have a TSC 7, you will be able to use Pointman on it. The TSC 5 works great with Pointman if you're looking at upgrading to that.
All right, so I'm pausing.
All right, so I'm pausing before we
move into the Pointman
move into the
Pro,
Pointman
desktop.
Pro.
Were there any
desktop.
questions? And do you guys still hear an echo?
Still hear an echo?
Still hear the echo.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Well, let's jump into the desktop, and I'll keep clicking around in here.
Let's check for questions. Looks like we're good. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit from the mobile device to the desktop, and I'll just touch on a few things here. Move this out of my way. So this is my project. I'm going to switch the base map here. So those same base maps, we have them available, Google, Bing, and OpenStreet in the grid on the desktop. So I'm going to switch to the dark road maps, easier to see my utilities in my opinion, so I can kind of work with everything. And then I'm going to open the project panel here. And this is my demo project with all those layers that I had in the mobile device. This is all permissions based. So I only see what I'm allowed to see. This is great for, multiple crews on a project. You only want them to see certain things, or your client, if they're picky about data privacy and security. I'll show you how all that works. It's very, very comprehensive and a very secure system. So I've got my demo project. I can have as many projects as I want. I can switch between them. If I switch to a different project, I have a different map, different layers, and this is exactly what I was looking at when I left it last time. So if I switch back to demo, same thing. It shows the last view that I was looking on with the data that I had turned on. I can create as many projects as I want just by hitting new and giving it a name. Then I can create my folders with the plus folder button. 3 ways of getting data into the system. The first is to collect it with the mobile app. So that's that real time. And I have 3 field data folders, one for Ben, Jess, and Kane. And inside each folder are my lines, points, and polygons. You can totally customize how this is set up. So I'm the only one with permission to see the Ben layers, and I can lock it down so I don't see anything else in here. So real-time data, each of my members can be collecting to their own layer, and that exists in the mobile device under new is this layer Ben points. So I can collect directly to Ben points right here, and I can say where I want to collect to. The second way of getting data into the system is manual drag and drop. So let's go to DOT and click this upload button for the folder. I can drag and drop shape files, KML, KMZ, and we are bringing in CSV as well as DWG files. So you can drag in your drawings and your CSVs. Once that's in, it comes in as a layer. I can then hit the pencil to edit this layer. and I can apply a style to it. So in this case, these are crossings. So there it's a railroad icon. And I just set that up in here as a style, and I have set it, and I can change it to any other style that I want. And I can change the method for retrieval, web map service, web feature service. This is important when you're connecting to a backend system like Esri, CAD, Bentley. You want to know how you're going to pull that data in. We're working on, we took it down for this morning to do some fixes on it, but underneath the name is a spot to enter the URL to connect to that data. And then we can also do API integrations as well in here. And that third way, again, yeah, is streaming that data back and forth through the API or through the web map service, web feature service. If you have a secure system set up on Esri, we can do token-based authentication to each layer, pull that in. As you saw in the PowerPoint, the data might not line up exactly in the real world as it did in CAD or Esri or Bentley. So you have the ability to see that and make updates to it. So you're then pushing back updated records into your backend GIS. And this is what we mean by when we say Pointman is not just another GIS program, it's the SUE and utility addition to your GIS program. This allows you to do all that utility work. If, for example, you don't have a SUE division, you now can with Pointman Pro or Pointman Enterprise. And that's exactly why CDOT did it. They actually switched from Esri Collector or Field Maps over to Pointman for their data collection on these utilities. Because one of the things in those regulations we talked about is the ASCE standard 38, which what came out in 2002. It's specifically designed for subsurface utilities, and they're doing a revision on it, which will be out this year. So it'll become 3821. Jim Ansbach is the founder and chair of the ASCE committee. He's responsible for things like quality levels, and he sits on our technical advisory board at ProStar. So you can be rest assured that everything that Pointman does meets that standard. So that is the project panel. You can structure this however you want. Again, you can have as many projects as you want, and you can have as much data in these projects as you want. Next is the feature panel. So I'm going to click on a feature, and I get a street view of that feature, which I can zoom in on. So we've integrated the Google API right into here, and I've got this point right here. Doesn't quite line up with where that survey marker is, but this is just the nature of Google Street View. You still have a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. You have driving directions to that feature and the attributes of it. So this was collected with a GPS. This is the Trimble. I've got all my information here, just like I would have on the mobile device. I also have custom attributes up top, so I can hit the pencil to edit and change custom attributes in here for this feature. From here, I can actually attach things. Again, drag and drop. There's that form I put on it earlier that we created on the mobile device. I can drag and drop more things from my desktop into here. Permits, images, spreadsheets, whatever I need. Forms are a whole different thing. These are forms, are not attachments. They're part of my workflow. I've got a dig permit form here associated to this feature, which I created. I can download it as a PDF. I can come in and edit it, or I can add more forms directly to that feature. So let's go in and edit the dig permit. So it's the same thing that we did before. All the forms are editable in here as well. I've got a 3-foot rule to read. I've got signature fields where I can sign my life away with my finger. And I've got the ability to embed photos and sketches with notes right into the form. I also have an audit trail for every feature in the system. So I can see what happened to that feature and when and who did it. So you can see that this was done yesterday, actually, by me. I updated the form, the feature, and we'll go into a comprehensive audit trail for that in the settings here in a bit. So we have, if we go back to the info pane, we have our familiar kind of way of looking at this, and the Street View guide tells you perspective, which way you're looking as you do that. And if you turn the Street View, he turns as well, so you can kind of orient yourself. Photos, same thing. I took a photo of something interesting while I was out there on this project site, pinned it on the map. If I go to the attachments, here's my image. And I found a drain And 10 feet under it or so were 3 more drains. So I thought it would be good to document this. So I did that, and we get this out of the way. There are actually 4 pipes down there. So this is a good way to document, and this is what the office user would see as these photos are taken in the field. So now that all this data is collected, we need to do something with it. We verified that it's all accurate, it's good, we want to use it. So I'll click the magnifying glass here, and it gives me a list of all my layers. This is directly pulling from this list of layers. And so what I can do is, for example, I want to export Ben's line work. So I can do that. I can just click the download right next to that layer, specify the file name, line work for Ben, put the email in there that I want it to go to, the coordinate system that I want it to go to. So let's say Colorado State Plane, US foot, type that in. And now I've got Colorado Central US foot, my units of measure, and the format that I want to send that out in. This is a manual export option, where again, we're adding the DWG file type to this. So it'll work in CAD and MicroStation. So you bring that in right as a drawing, and it will bring it in as a 3D polyline so that you can actually build a project off of it. It's not just 2D. Okay, so that's one way to do the export. You might notice that there is an export option for each layer, but there isn't one for folders. And if I want to export my lines, points, and polygons in one file, we're adding that export button right here in the folder. So this is kind of like a Tesla. Every time you turn it on, you have new updates. These come over the wire automatically. So every time you log in, you're going to have new features. As I mentioned yesterday, we launched the feature, we launched this product, and we have a 3-year roadmap already planned out for new features that are coming out for Pointman and Pointman Pro. If I get rid of this project panel, I can now use my search to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to restrict my search results to this map view that I'm looking at just by clicking the button. And now I just have what was in there. So I'm going to do the line work. And if you notice, the lines turned pink because they're part of the search results. If I go back to search results and use the points instead, now all my points turn pink. They're part of the search results. And I can dock this up and make sure I'm not missing any back here. From here, I can do filter and sort. So I can pre-sort this before I export it by system. I can enable all my columns, and that includes custom attributes that I filled out. Material, let's sort on this one, material one here, and go the other way, make sure there's nothing in there. Okay. Select all, or select a sample set of data. There are 43 items in here, and I'm going to hit the export. Same dialog. So I can send this to somebody manually. It can be anybody. They don't have to be in the Pointman system. You can send this to any email address, and they'll get it right away. So this is how you do a deliverable using Pointman Pro. You send this out with whatever format they need. For example, if they are a surveyor, they're going to want the PNEZD file type. If they're someone in the database in the IT department, they're going to want GeoJSON. If they use Google Earth, they're going to want a KML file, also known as a KMZ. If they have Esri, they're going to want a shape file. And if they have CAD, they're going to want that new DWG that we're coming out with. So this gives everybody the ability to be included in this and get those deliverables out. Checking for questions, looks like we're good. I'm going to go into settings. Very easy to self-administer this. Everything I'm showing you, you can do as well. So let's go in and manage my team. Pointman Pro is a seat-based subscription. It's a seat-based seat license product. These are all my users, and these are floating licenses. So I can reassign them to other people as needed. For example, I could come in and hit the new button up here and add a user. Just put in their email, first name, last name. The first name, last name is not even required, but just give them a permission set. Maybe they're an office admin, a project admin out in the field. Maybe they're collecting data using the mobile app, or I want to assign permissions later. One thing that we've heard feedback on that we're adding currently is a 5th option for viewing only. If you have a client that wants viewing access to the system, you can do that. And it's, again, a floating license. So when the project's done, You can take that access away and give it to the next client. If my user forgets their password, I'll pick on Robert right here. I can click this button and send him a temporary password that's good for 24 hours and he can get back into the system. I want to manage his permissions though. So I'm going to edit his user, and I mentioned everything's permissions based. So let's look at the demo project. I'm going to take away his organization admin. Now I have the demo project with all of the layers that we've been looking at, and I can specify what he is allowed to see and do and not see and not do. So I don't want him to see City of Grand Junction. I don't want him to see CDOT. I don't want him to see mine, but I do want him to see Jess's field data collection. So he could view, but nothing else is modified. Let's take it a step further. Let's go into the line work. I want him to view line work, but he still can't create any line work. And if I give him this create checkbox, now he has this layer available for just lines. I have options for everything. So I can select just lines, but he would only get to see that option. Again, when you make changes, it's real time. So if someone needs permissions to something, you check the box, they have it in the field. He can create things, but he can't edit things. So if I check this box, now he can edit things and change attributes and move line work, but he still can't delete anything. If I give him admin at the layer level, he can delete. So this can ensure that people are seeing what they're supposed to see and not what they're not. It also helps to alleviate issues of data accidentally getting deleted or changed. Not an issue anymore because none of the other stuff is affected. If something does accidentally get deleted, there's a full backup and restore functionality in the system. So this is that audit trail I told you about. So if I want to check the demo project, and I want to know exactly what was deleted, and I want to check a specific user, I can, or I can just leave them all. And I can do a specific date and time that I want to check on. But I'm going to do a broad search for anything that was deleted in this project. And you can see it's already here, which I can then export that log to a CSV file and expand that and see exactly, my IT department's going to love this because they can see exactly what was deleted. And then I can do a selective restore on just this feature. I don't have to back up and restore the entire database. I can just restore this feature. So if something does get accidentally deleted, you can get it back instantly. You can set up automatic backups daily, hourly. So your data is always there. We talked about the data dictionary and different styles and forms, so you can customize those here. I've got my custom demo dictionary here, which I can then use and reassign to different projects. So the demo project uses the demo dictionary, but these two projects use the same dictionary, so I can reuse these. I can make copies of them. I can have a master dictionary. If I go into the demo, just like I did this observed leak on the mobile, I have the same capability to do it on the desktop. So really, you're starting to see a recurring theme here of everything you can do in the office, you can do in the field. So I can come in here, set up my custom attributes, give it the actual geometries that I want them to have, and that's how CAD it will honor those 3D polylines and all that. Set up the style so I can get a preview of what I'm changing. Make this one really big, or simply host an icon for something like a fire hydrant or a leak, and I've got an icon on there. Again, when you make a change to this, all the user has to do is tap that refresh button in the mobile device and they have everything. Styles, if I have styles already set up, I can import those into the system and assign them to layers. I've got my section 130, which is my railroad crossing icon. I've got fiber, I've got all kinds of stuff in here, major roads, routes, mile points. I can drag and drop new styles right into the system. And then I actually have a built into the browser an editor, so I can make changes to these styles here. If I'm an IT person or GIS back in the office, this is that GIS portion. And then if I have forms that I use on a regular basis, I can import those into Pointman Pro and use them. So my dig permit form, for example, I edit that and I can assign it to a project or multiple projects. When I hit that, those field users now have access to that form in those projects. Anytime you have questions, you can send feedback. We get this as like a live chat in our office, and we can respond to you right away. You get priority support and training. With Pointman Pro, we're coming out with Pointman University, and it's a video module based, we call it just-in-time learning. You can learn as you need something, or you can go through the full thing and learn all about Pointman. This is also what we normally do is if somebody's interested in Pointman, rather than being a sales pitch, I just send everybody to Frontier Precision, because David knows more about Pointman than almost anybody. And he's very knowledgeable, very helpful, and he can get you squared away with the right package, as well as training you on Pointman and giving some technical support there. So again, this is Pointman Plus and Pointman Pro. I just want to thank everybody for attending. Let me pull this back up here. If there's any questions, we'll open it up. You can check out more information at pointman.com, or visit Frontier and talk to David or Allison or any of the team there, and they'd be happy to help you out with talking about Pointman for collecting utilities. This system does meet the CDOT mandate. So if you're doing any work on the CDOT right-of-way, this is the program you need. Even just the mobile device, you don't need Pro, but if you want it for your organization, you can actually, one Pro system can talk to another. So if you collect data on your system, you could share it to CDOT and get your permit signed off. If you're working on CDOT in their environment, you can share it with yours and then use Pointman Pro for your other projects. So that's all available to you.
Ben, that was okay. So figured out the echo. So this is all good. And this is where I'd really like to open it up to questions, because there really is a great deal of information there for us to unpack. So with that, raise your hand. I would like to hear some comments on things that you guys might have heard that was different. Again, this is just a different data collection workflow. So can you guys hear me okay? And do we have questions?
Sound is good, David.
Okay, good. That was the first point. I'm afraid I was just talking to an empty room.
Oh, and everybody has the ability to talk, as well as the Q&A.
I know this is a question nobody likes to ask or answer, but what kind of cost is Pointman?
Yeah, so Deb, you know me. I'm a field guy, so I don't shy away from costs. So Pointman for the CDOT workflow. So if you're doing anything in the CDOT right away, or as they're moving into as-built, that is no cost to the contractor, the city, the county, or the end user if you're providing CDOT the data. So they have, and you just need to request a login. So that's $0. Pointman Plus, which is a basic data collection platform, is $295. And that's a single use. You do not get the back end. You do not get any of that information. But I've got one coming up at 3 o'clock, and my confidence in being able to set up the somebody in Pointman is really hour and a half, depending on if they have their own equipment or not. So again, very, very simple. Moving into Pointman Pro, which is a per seat license, and that's $2,500 per seat. And those all go through Pointman. That's not something that we sell, but we do support it. And then as they're floating licenses. So organizations that have usually start with 4 or 5 seats to get everything up and going, and then creating that back end with all of your information. Did that answer your question on price?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. What else? I've been working with Trimble equipment since, 95. And, we're an Esri Gold business partner. So, I used to train in ArcPad, and then we moved into Collector, and now we're into field maps. These all do different things. And one of the takeaways that, CDOT chose this is because it does play nice with all of their backends, whether it's into Bentley, MicroStation, GIS. They've got one workflow. They can bring all of their layers in. It is a pretty tremendous time savings for them. The CDOT workflow, and I touched on this yesterday, and Rob Martindale, the director of the right of way, he's actually an ex-surveyor. I guess once you're a surveyor, always. But he spent an immense amount of time on this, and it's predominantly for the workflow. In that, he had always said that their biggest problem was just having, poor or bad data or just absolutely garbage in the system. And a lot of that was because when coming from a contractor or an end user in either a permit, we could have different datums and coordinates and projections, and they were spending a staggering amount of time correcting the data that was coming in. So now having the coordinate data and projection set, we know at minimum we're getting that. Also having a minimum accuracy, we know that those pieces are tied together. The CDOT has what's called TMOS codes, and there's 95 pages of TMOS codes, and that's every single asset that you could ever dream of. And most people just hated TMOS codes because they don't make a lot of sense. In Pointman, it's searchable. So if I have a low pressure gas, you can search on gas. If you have water, if you have anything that you can ever think of that CDOT has wanted you to, it's in that. So they're getting the proper coding. Any forms that they have that are project adjacent are attached, and you fill out the form while you're standing in the field, and when you hit done, boom, it's sitting back at CDOT. So that was really their driving force, is to get all of these components in one place that they could have them fulfilled. So kind of a long answer there, but did that answer your question? Was there even a question that I didn't answer?
So for the Pointman, what kind of equipment do you need to run? It looks like it's a mobile app, but for the GPS side, what do you need?
If good question, thank you. If you're running Trimble, today it's Android, and you should be in an Android 9 or above. But most any relatively current phone or tablet is in that Android environment. And then the reason we're using Android is for Trimble Mobile Manager, which is the middleware that takes that real-time correction and pushes it straight into CDOT. Let me see here. I'm going to show you guys something real quick.
What if you're using iOS devices?
Yeah, we're just not utilizing the Trimble software right now. Can you guys see my screen with the handheld?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in the settings, this is where we would come in and select your GPS device, and lots of options. We are using Juniper in an iOS today. We're just not getting that same precision. So scope of work is actually what's going to drive, iOS or Android. And if you need that sub-inch to fulfill, say, the CDOT workflow, or another one, and you're using Trimble hardware, that is Android only. But it doesn't need to be whether you're using a phone or a tablet. And then your standard GPS receiver, and then a real-time correction source, whether that's a single base or a VRS or an RTX. Those are the components that you would need to for the data collection. That answer your question there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So on my screen, you can see right here, I'm connected to the R2. We have an RTK correction, and we're at 500ths. So these are the pieces. So the field tech, there's no excuse for bad accuracy because it tells us exactly, what that accuracy is. And, so that field tech, that's all that person needs to look at. Yep, I've got the accuracy I need. And, we can, collect a new point. This is the TMOS codes I was talking about. There's 95 pages. So if we were to type in something like gas, these are all of the gas options that are available. What else?
So what is that back end? Is that I'll sit and as Esri published feature services? Is it like OGC compliant services? What is that back end?
So keep going with the question on, on the Pointman Pro or what CDOT's using. Make sure I understand what you're asking.
Right. So it's all the data that gets uploaded has to get hosted somewhere. I would think. So I was just wondering how that actually lives because it's got to be on a server somewhere.
Yeah, it's on an Amazon server for the Pointman, and then once once you're in that pro environment, that's where you can export that in straight into your ArcMap, your pro, into a CAD environment or into a geodatabase. So it is in an Amazon server environment.
All right, so then it is probably like as an OGC service, like say a web map service or a web feature service.
Correct.
All right, cool.
And and because it plays nice with all the that's why it can consume web services, it can consume layers, it can consume, and it doesn't matter whether it's Esri or CAD, and we can bring all of those into in one environment. So that was the other part that CDOT really jumped on, because they live in lots of different platforms, but they needed it all to be accessible for the field techs, whether that's the forms that are being attached to certain projects, or existing CAD data that they can look. And there's a really cool functionality that in here, the split and join. This is something we're getting a lot more of, that, let's say I'm the field tech, and, there was a CAD drawing, and it was a water or gas line that shows up on the map, and you're out in the field and you've actually located it. So, that piece with the locator, I can't stress how strong this is, that as I'm locating with the locator and I hit locate, it actually gives me depth of cover, frequency, signal strength. All of that information is captured and attached with that sub-inch GPS line. So the previous workflow was a guy would go out and locate and paint on the surface, and then somebody'd come behind and map those paint marks. Now we're capturing all of that data electronically. We actually get depth of cover, we get that metadata. And so I've gone out there and I've mapped this water line, and it's, in the street, you can see that we have all our really, really good metadata. We have really, really good GPS data. And that CAD drawing shows it, 20 feet away running across grandma's front lawn. So in the field, you can actually grab that line and join that to the actual GPS data. And what's powerful about that is we still have all the historical data from, maybe that CAD line was digitized, but we have all of that information. We've just updated it with new geospatial data so that it actually lines up where it is spatially. So, these are some really, really cool features that, allow us to, maintain the continuity and the historical data, but we can also get, how do we get that better data now that we have the GPS and it's not just creating a new line? Did that make sense?
Yep.
Good, because that's really exciting to me as a field guy, and knowing how much garbage data is out there. That's a big deal. That, hey, I've corrected this. Yep. Now this line is where it's supposed to be geospatially.
Yeah, it's a huge deal in the office too.
Yeah. Well, and as I'm doing that, and you're seeing that, you can send me communications, when I'm out in the field, and say, hey, we need more information. We need, this notification button right here. If I come in here, it'll tell me, hey, I have messages, and you can say, boy, there's some erosion or something. I need some more photos. I tap on that. It happens. It will navigate me to that spot that you just sent me, and, we're getting all of this, in, as long as you've got cellular connectivity, in that real-time environment. So we're not heading back into the office and back, and what do we have and what do you see? So, there's a lot of things. Another one that I really like is the help, and, being somebody that, supports field users, I was really pushing Pointman for these types of products, and that, everything that we do in the field is available to that technician. So we don't have to have a 2-day class where all we sit around and we're worrying about forgetting. But everything that we do is here. There are documents, there are videos on how do we, create points, lines, polygons, all the information when we're getting into, specialty on the inspections and forms. How do we update the forms? Getting into locates, all of this information is here for the field technician. So again, the goal is, what are we doing the best chances for success? Really and truly, that's just, so again, these are tools that are being provided to that end user. When we talk about what CDOT is doing, this happens to be the CDOT environment. I just turned on all the data collection. These are points that have all been collected in CDOT. I was working with a customer day before yesterday that had been out in the field and, collected their points for the permit, for the CDOT permit, and then was asking, what do I do now? And he said, I opened the Pointman app and my points were in the app. And, the takeaway is they're done. They collected the data, they hit done. That information is all sitting back at CDOT. And to say, this contractor was stunned, it was pretty exciting. Those are the fun parts. We talk about how CDOT is being as transparent as they possibly can. These are all layers that are available to the contractors so that the contractors are able to do their jobs, to collect the information, to get all of the data that they need, so they only have to go out to the field the one time. So again, I mean, this is CDOT trying really, really hard. We can pick between roadmap and satellite, depending on what the technicians want. If we turn on the 8111 call tickets, you can see everywhere that there's a highlight. There's a call ticket in there. If we were to zoom in, so if I'm in the field and if I'm standing, all I have to do is tap in that environment and it will pull up, whatever permits are active at that point. So again, these are all things that, how do we make it simpler, and so to Deb's question early on, where do we see this going? You know, there is just so much that when we start doing locates, when we start being able to do this information, um, you know, we can actually have, if it's an 811 and it's normally an 18-inch, you know, minimum width, if we're collecting at a sub-inch, those boundaries are going to drop dramatically. And we know that we've got the metadata. We know that it's a water line. We know that it's 6 feet. We know we have that confidence in the data that's in that maps now because we get the metadata. We get all of that background information. So it takes a lot for me to get excited about hardware, software, but you know, the fact that we're actually bringing in locators, I've been trying to bring in locators for, gosh, you know, since about 2008, pairing GPS with locators and a software. And, you know, so this is something that I see is really, really powerful.
That is pretty cool stuff.
All right, so we're coming up on time. So just one more chance to go around the room. If you guys had anything that you took away or that you learned, I'd love to hear it. You know, if you guys ever want to, you know, see a demo, I'm happy to put this in hands, happy to, you know, talk about how it, you know, it complements field maps. It's different than field maps or Terraflex, and you know that there isn't any one, you know, silver bullet, but it's you know, they're all just tools. So anybody, do you have any takeaways? What'd you learn? Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I like the data dictionary that was with the CDOT because we deal a lot with YDOT and they've got a pretty extensive data dictionary as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's a big deal, you know. So, you know, the old model was, you know, you took your map book, you went out to the field, you had your paper permit, you know, mapped or surveyed in, you know, the bore site or the gas line, and then you came back and you handed it to a CAD operator, and that CAD operator, you know, put it in a map and handed it off to a GIS person. That GIS person, you know, would then, you know, open up a, you know, web map or, you know, push that permit back. And in any one of those phases, we could have, you know, hosed up a datum transformation, a coordinate system, or, you know, changed a coding, or, you know, this way it is clean and easy. That process took weeks, if not months. And now when we're done in the field, we're actually done. And you know that it's done right. And so, you know, CDOT is seeing that, you know, the results are coming in and the accuracies are coming in. And, you know, those are all just really kind of exciting to see when something that's taken 6 years to, you know, be built and come to, that we're getting the results that we're hoping for. So Brian, with that, it's going to be yours, and I will let you have any final words. And thank you everybody from joining. And if you've got any questions, again, do not hesitate to reach out to me.
All right. So yes, thank you very much, David. That was a super interesting workshop. And thank you to all of our attendees and our sponsors. And remind everybody that we'll be back here on June 9th for the third and final week of Elevation's Geospatial Summer Series. So, and with that, see you then.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.